Welcome to Podcast versus Player. It is Spoilercast time for Loki Season 2. We didn't do an episode last week, so we're doing episodes 5 and 6 together for the big fat finale. Dan,
yeah,
are you all spoiler-casted excited?
I'd say ready is probably a better term, but yes, I'm ready to go.
I feel this was a little bit lackluster compared to last season, considering the stakes that were in place for season 2. I felt season 1 had a bit more going for it.
Yeah, this feels a bit more like I could see them going, we're not going to do another series of Loki. Like, it kind of feels like it's been potentially wrapped up, and then just what happens now kind of ties into the rest of the wider movies and stuff.
Makes sense.
But let's not fucking jump ahead. We've got episode 5, science fiction, and episode 6, glorious purpose. Also, something I noticed by accident, glorious purpose was also the name of the first episode of season 1, which
was it really?
Makes me think that have they just sort of bookended it and gone, this is glorious purpose, as in him wanting to, take over Earth and be a rascal. And then it's ended with him like on the throne of time, basically, and being a time god.
Maybe.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they said, "Yeah, no, we're not doing another one of these. We'll do something else instead." But they haven't really wrapped up everything for everyone.
Well, I didn't get the same in terms of tone and just how it kind of ended. I agree, and I feel the same, but they can't not do anything with him now, just because of the position that he's in. I saw a thing. I've got nothing to spoil because I generally don't know what the answer is. But I saw a thing saying that this ties in sorry, I'll start that again. This ties in to the Marvels. So I was like, I was going to be a post-credit scene or something, and there was nothing.
No, I checked. There was nothing. Yeah.
So I don't understand because it doesn't reference anything.
But this is the thing that like this whole series has been most of the whole show, like season 1 and 2, it's been completely separate from the rest of the MCU because that makes sense. It exists outside of space and time, so why would it? Except
the sacred timeline.
Exactly. Or that explodes, and then okay, well, what the fuck do we do now?
Well, I thought, because obviously we talked, I can't remember if it was on the podcast or just chatting, about the rumour for Disney are going to be bringing back the original Avengers cast.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that on the podcast, yeah.
And that's what I thought this was going to do. So this, they'd kind of change time so Tony didn't die and Black Widow didn't die, etc. But again, none of that happened. And I don't know. It's very, even though, like you say, it seems to be bookended to how it started to how it ended. It bookends it quite nicely, but it's also very open-ended.
But that's the thing. I don't think that's something that would be explored. No, I'll rephrase that. It's not something that necessarily would need to be explored in another season of this. It would just be, rather than all of all of these potential timelines or these new timelines existing within and being sort of like filtered through the loom. Instead, the loom doesn't exist anymore, and Loki's taking control of all of the branches. So he would be kind of keeping all of those branches alive himself through his own power. So presumably that means that there's no like weird varied shit that could come through into the sacred timeline.
Potentially.
But it depends, because like the sacred timeline itself was like the mainstream of the loom, wasn't it? It was as they've explained in this, the loom was kind of like it's cutting branches itself. So the TVA's job was to prune all the variants to stop all the new branches from growing. But if they missed one or whatever, the loom would prune it itself. But now, because there's no one pruning anything, it's completely out of control. It can't deal with the amount of work that it has to do. Even if you expand it, as Kang's explained, there's infinite timelines, and you cannot have a loom that could grow infinitely.
Yeah.
So Loki's blown that up, and then he's, looking after either all of the branches or some of the branches or whatever. So I don't know if that means that the sacred timeline is now completely safe, as in, there's not going to be any variations, or instead of the Loom controlling things infinitely, he does now instead.
Well, what about the Kang dynasty?
Well, this was my question, but before we get to that, let's go back a bit. So, episode 5, which was science fiction, which was last week's episode, saw everybody kind of returning back to their original timelines and their own particular branches of those timelines. And we got to see everybody doing what they were doing beforehand. So obviously Mobius has always been
selling speedboats,
jet skis.
Well, jet skis rather.
But he's always been mad on that at his time in the TVA. So that's what he's doing, and he's got kids. Yeah. Interesting. X5 was a doctor.
Yeah.
It was interesting that he said that she's a doctor and she was in 2012. Which is when I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's when there was the Avengers movie, like the Chitauri invasion. That was in 2012. So I thought, what if she was a doctor during the middle of the invasion of New York, and she gets killed, or was supposed to be killed as part of that, and then she didn't, and that's why she's a variant, and that's why she's been taken to the TVA or something.
Maybe.
Then we got Obi, who's just he's just a mad scientist. He's a physicist, but he's also written all of his own sci-fi books as well, which is great. One of which was I can't remember exactly what it's called now because it was a week ago, but it was like the two brothers of something or other, and it looked like, is this a story about Loki and Thor? And then
I thought,
and then Loki pops up and he's like, wait, I know, I wrote you. That's weird. We got Casey, who was a prisoner in Alcatraz, and I didn't realize this, but in the very first season, Loki was he was the DB Cooper, which is some dude who held up a plane and then seemingly vanished into thin air. There was a prisoner that escaped from Alcatraz, Frank something or other, who was again never seen of, and that's who he's supposed to be. So he's based on an actual prisoner that escaped Alcatraz.
That's cool.
Yeah, right. And I was just like, oh, cool. I didn't know that. It was literally just a random post on Instagram or Twitter or something that I saw. X, sorry. So I was like, oh, that's pretty fun. And that's pretty much everyone, I think, isn't it?
That's because obviously Sylvie's just Sylvie.
Yeah, she's back at McDonald's, I guess, just enjoying that until her entire branch gets spaghettied.
I thought the same thing about the book, just completely off reference. But when he's on about the book that he's wrote, when he makes the statement that one of his characters has come to life, I just assumed it was about time travel, and because Loki just went blah and just appeared, that's what I put that down to, rather than it being like Thor and Odin, Thor and Loki.
I don't know, but it was just one of his books, not the one that everyone was sort of handing around. It was one of the other ones on a stack was the brothers of something or other, some made up word.
Yeah.
But then he gives him the TVA. So it's another one of these things. It's it is some sort of weird paradox, but both OB and Timely both created the TVA handbook. So one would have needed to write it to give to the other for them to be able to complete the work. Do you know what I mean? It all kind of loops back around on itself. But then with that, he's managed to find the tech in the 90s to build a ridiculously sized temp pad. Another great prop as well, by the way. Just a weird bulky laptop thing with buttons on it, clicky buttons.
I do love that. When obviously he gets back to him. And he's just you did this already? He's like, I don't know already. It took 18 months and from my house and my job. And,
But that's the beauty of it, though. It's just sort of no, for you, I've done it now, but it's taken me years. I've lost my wife, I lost my job, I lost everything to build this thing. But that again, though, that's kind of Sylvie's whole point, though. It's just this is people's lives that you're fucking with. As soon as there's anything to do with the TVA and all the pruning and stuff like that. it has a massive impact on literally everyone times a trillion, like for every potential timeline that you prune someone away from.
I'd still argue and say that her killing He Who Remains had a bigger impact on the timeline.
Yeah, but she did it with the best will in the world. So just like, no, fuck that. Like, people shouldn't just be killed because they're not supposed to be exactly where they are, or not. They're not supposed to be doing something they do at the moment that could affect this one thing. No, fuck it. Just let them do whatever they want to.
I'm just going to doom everyone instead.
Yeah, but again, she didn't know that.
She didn't know. Well, I mean, he did tell her.
Yeah, but he's told her in the last 10 minutes of the episode. Like, the last episode. Like, that's hardly her fault.
Mm. Very true, very true.
Also, I do like the fact that there's like a complete Groundhog Day of just how long would it take me to learn how to build this and know it all like intrinsically, and they're like hundreds of years, and it's like previously I was like, it's just like 100 years later or whatever.
Well, that was in episode 6 though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just skipped ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they managed to get the band back together because Obi was basically saying like you need to like everyone's collective temporal aura will allow them to kind of return to a single point inside the TVA. Yeah. That's like their portal to get back in again. Very sketchy. Like what if again you'd sort of jump in between time, but what if they what if they died? I suppose you could just go back to any point, I guess, couldn't you?
Well, no, because at this point, Loki can't control the time slipping, can he?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a theory. So even though like he has had time to build like the tempad and everything else, it's still only been like 18 months.
Yeah.
So this, I suppose, variant of thingy isn't as knowledgeable as the one at the TVA. So anything he does say, I'd still be taking with a grain of salt.
No, that's probably true, yeah. Like, because he is just a rando dude that's been given a book of infinite knowledge, and it's like, yeah, I could probably bodge something together with this.
I mean, obviously, it all basically boils down to Loki controlling the time slipping, which, obviously, in episode 6, we learn a bit more of. But I still don't get. Obviously, again, I mean, we may as well talk about it because we'll get anyway. But so it's implied that He Who Remains is aware of obviously everything. He knows this is going to happen. He knows Sylvie's going to kill him. He knows Loki's going to do all this and get back to him. But how does Loki control this power of time? Because it doesn't say. I know he says like, who do you think's responsible for the time slipping and everything else. But in terms of, it's a completely different form of, I suppose, magic, I guess, really. But it doesn't say how he specifically got it and how he can control it.
I'm assuming it's just like, maybe it's just like from his exposure to like the loom. Or like the like when he's been like in the temporal radiation and all that kind of stuff, like, or no, because he didn't go into the big loom room.
Not till the end.
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe it's just like an evolution of his abilities. So rather than just sort of like he can just create knives and clones and shadows or whatever, like he's again, bear in mind by this point he's been doing this for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So eventually, and again, it's like Groundhog Day. You find out a bit of information, you use that on the next go around. So if he kind of like, the more he's time slipping through his own, because like he's slipping into his own bodies now rather than just into random points of time or whatever, or space. So the more he's doing it, the more he's kind of like learning about that ability and that power, and then how he can control so rather than just sort of going, I can jump back to a specific point in time, he's like, no, I can control time itself.
Because it effectively puts him in the position of... so when we see He Who Remains, obviously he is in control of time, and like we see with Sylvie where he's just like...
Yeah, but he's still got a super advanced temp pad to do that. Loki's doing it without technology.
This is what I was gonna say. So like he's in that position without any additional. Like you could take his helmet off him or his cape or whatever. He's still got the powers.
Yeah.
And he's in a position that Kang will never be.
Yeah, presumably. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I was saying, but because it doesn't specifically say the reason you can do this is because it's just he's a god, so he must be able to do it.
But I think that is what it is. It's just like he's a god. Right. He knows he's a god. He's got abilities. But does that mean that if that was the case, though, that means he wouldn't be able to use his time powers in the TVA if it was magic based because of like the magic dampener? So does that mean if they turn that back on again, would he no longer be able to control time? Or is he now so far beyond that, like that wouldn't affect him?
I'd assume he's beyond it now.
Yeah, because like the whole premise was just like you can't affect time in the TVA because it's outside of time.
Yeah.
Which is why OB's like, no, you can't time slip. That's impossible here. And he's like, and he's just gone. So like it's clearly his power is growing beyond that even the TVA can understand. That's what I would guess anyway. But no, you're right. They haven't said like, oh, I've been doing this for so long now. It's just kind of like it's second nature to me. I can do whatever I want to. It just feels like to me, it's just sort of like the more he's like, because whenever he's sort of like had like a big breakthrough moment, and he's like when all of Sylvie's branch gets spaghettied, and he can like
just pause it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that. That's like him sort of like, oh god, I don't want her to die. And then like that sort of like that explosion of emotion kind of like triggers his ability to be able to do something with it.
Yeah.
So all I'd say is that if anything, it's just like it's the birth of a new ability that he's got, or a set of new, or he's learnt it, or he's developed it, or something like that, or because he's been so like because he's been dragged into this time slipping thing. It's like a side effect of that, I guess.
Well, I didn't. What I was going to ask was because I don't know, and I don't know if you do either. But my knowledge of Norse mythology is God of War and the MCU, really. And I was going to say, is there any stories like in the mythology of Loki having not just being a trickster god, but having time-based abilities?
I mean, the concept of time didn't really exist then, mate.
That's why I ask. I don't know.
I wouldn't have thought so, no, because you're talking, what, 1,000 years ago, maybe longer? I'm not sure.
I don't mean this time slipping shit. I just mean like maybe he could like somebody's fell off a cliff and he could pause.
No, but again, that means that you'd have to understand that someone falling is a point in time where they are falling.
I suppose,
You'd have to know that if you stop time itself, then all motion within it would have to stop. It seems like, I mean, there's probably a few things that maybe they go, oh, they can just be one place and then another, and you go, well, you just stop time and then move and then turn it back on again, and there you go. There's probably something you could like sort of loosely connect the dots, I guess, but
because by that you could say because he can teleport. So is it an evolution of that ability?
Yeah, but that's the thing, because like his powers are just defined as pretty much magic. It's just whatever you can get away with within that sort of umbrella, I guess. Just like he can teleport, and he's got psychic abilities, like in essence, like he can stop things in midair and he can create things out of thin air. But is that a thing that really exists? Like whenever he creates a knife, is that a knife that really exists, or is it a hologram with with physical force behind it? I don't know. But that's the thing. If you keep it vague, then it kind of works. You just go, well, he could do magic and now he can do better magic. Like, well, yeah, sure, I guess.
Yeah, it's not the same feeling of like this episode ended with Mobius sat in the chair controlling time, and you go, wait, what? Like,
he was Kang all along, yeah.
Yeah, it was like this arguably makes more sense, but it would be, and I don't know how the hell they'd do it, but it'd make more sense, and there'd be less questions if it was Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch.
But no, Doctor Strange doesn't have time powers, though, does he?
No, but what I'm saying is, if that happened, you would have less people questioning it, because they would just go, oh yeah, it's because it's Doctor Strange, even though he hasn't got that ability. It just fits him more so than it fits Loki. That's all. That's all.
I don't know, because Doctor Strange is still a man though. Like he's got he's got access to magic, and when he's got the time stone, he can fuck around with time a bit, but it's still dependent on him having a thing that allows him to be able to do that. But Loki's a god, so
yeah.
In the same way that how would Odin keep together like all of the various races, and like as soon as he dies, then all of a sudden hell opens up to release Hela. Like there's a bunch of stuff like that where it's just like this isn't just like, so Thor, like in the first Thor movie or whatever it was, is like, well, we're not really gods, we're just like so advanced that you can't really tell the difference. No, mate, you are. Like there's no real getting around it. You're talking about magic and affecting reality, like all realities, by just willpower. I'm pretty sure that's as close to a god as you're gonna get.
Well, it's that mentality of we're just human, so anything that's better than us in terms of like knowledge, strength, speed, magic, I guess, like all powers and all that kind of shit. You can control lightning. You're definitely a god.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there could be other beings that are more advanced and.
But it's not. It's not like it's like nanotech, but it's like quantum nanotech or something like that. It's like you're not just a super advanced. Like if you can mind control someone, you've got abilities, you've got powers, and if you can control an infinity stone, like you're pretty good. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no way that I'd be convinced otherwise that it's just like, oh no, there's a specific reason that he can do this. It's like, well no, he's powerful, and now he's more powerful because he understands what that power is and where it comes from, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm okay with that. Like I'm genuinely okay. I just want to know what his role in all of this is now going to be. Does that mean that he needs to be present constantly in order to keep all of the branching timelines going, or what? How does that work?
What happens when he dies?
Well, I mean, he walked through that temporal radiation, and he lost a bit of his jacket.
Well, is that because
that harkens back to, I can't remember if I mentioned it to you or not, or if we did it on one of these recordings or whatever. Why did they have to send Victor Timely out to go and do it? It's like, surely you should be all right with this, mate. You're already like hundreds of years old or whatever, and time doesn't affect you here anyway. So why would temporal, like, if you're getting hit with like mad time, that wouldn't affect you?
We was discussing, this was on the last Spoilercast we did, and basically you got two gods in that room. You got Sylvie and Loki.
Yeah.
And pretty sure between them, you could figure out a way of...
Yeah, instead, let's get the guy who's completely out of his element, who doesn't understand what's going on, and he's from like the, very early 20th century, late 19th century. No, let's pop you in a spacesuit and send you out into the time vortex. Like, what? Really? Me?
I also I know obviously Disney aren't watching, well, it was already made before we started the Spoilercast, but nobody listened to us when we were saying last week about why you got to walk across, why didn't they build something like a tunnel that went underneath so you didn't get exposed to all the stuff.
Or an escalator.
And then you could like pop up. So you basically just go under and then like a little lift that takes you to the the loom thingy. And I like how through all of the different fucking times where he's going back and forth trying to get it right and stuff, still didn't think of that.
No,
multiple times to build something.
But the TVA exists as its own little bubble. If you think that in absolute nothingness, and then that is just a pokey out part in that nothingness, you still have to go out into that in order to build a thing to boost it up.
Yeah, but wouldn't you just go back to a point in time where it wasn't as dangerous?
No, they can't go back in time. Like, the TVA just exists as it does.
But that's what this is saying. Like, it doesn't exist in the same sense that we thought it did.
Yeah, but it's also still governed by, this explosion is still going to happen. You can't go back 20 minutes and then build a machine that's going to get it out there any quickly.
No, I meant go back further than that.
What, and then he's Loki? And then they go, well, what the fuck would we trust you to do anything?
He's got power of time, just pause it, carry on as he is.
But he'd still have to go out there, which means that he'd, as far as he knows, he'd still get timed to death.
Which he won't.
But no, we don't know that. Like, is it only because his powers have evolved to the point now where this temporal shit doesn't affect him anymore?
Probably. Because he didn't lose, like, it looked like he was just getting, like, the stuff was falling off him, but I think it was meant to be that he was, when he does his little trick and his clothes turn into his cloak and his horns and that. I think it was just that during the walk.
Yeah,
to show that I'm God Loki now, not TVA Loki.
Yeah, he didn't get grey or anything like that. Yeah. But he's grown, like those new horns that he's got as well.
I like them.
I love them. Like they're clearly made out of like the same material that like Kang's home at the end of the world is, but it's like it's like black marble but with like gold veins running through it.
I thought it was the branches.
No, because if you look at Loki's home. Kang's
throne,
like his throne room. It's like it's all that same kind of like Japanese thing where it's like it's all broken stuff that's been glued back together with gold. Like his horns are made of that same stuff. So like that must be like so now he's taken over that job. So he's on that throne of gold, and he's kind of like holding time together himself. But I don't know if that means that if he's like connected to all of time, does that mean can he go between all of those different branches, maybe?
I would assume so.
Like as a little avatar, you could just sort of pop in and just do... Because then, in essence, then he is Kang. Because he could just go into any branch of time. He could see what's going to happen during all of those branches of time and stop any bad things from happening or anything that's going to cause the universe to explode or whatever.
Because that's what it seemed to be. It seemed to be that, like, because he could hear Mobius... They're saying, like, I'm just going to stand here and just let time pass by or whatever, was the line when he's talking to Sylvie at the house. That got back to Loki, so whether he influenced that to make him go back and just see what he was missing, I guess.
I don't know. I just felt that was a cut, personally. I didn't get the impression, at least, that was him watching Mobius there. It felt like he was just content, or he was like, this is the best thing for me to be doing. So rather than just trying to save Asgard by doing a turn at the last minute and then trying to help out, like he's actually making a proper real difference now. Like he is a completely different person to when he arrived at the TVA. It felt like more of a realization rather than he was just looking at it. Also, does that mean that if Mobius wants to get involved with them kids, he's gonna have to go and drown himself?
I mean. He's going to have to get rid of the other one some way, isn't he?
But he could just be an observer.
I guess, yeah. He might just be happy to see, just witness things.
Yeah.
So he moves in down the street or something.
But I'm surprised that they only showed... Because, I mean, everyone else is just... They're happy enough to just work at the TVA, I guess. Also, when Loki's got his new loom made, is that supposed to be Yggdrasil? I mean, it looks like it, right?
Yeah, let me pull up a picture. It does very much look like it, doesn't it? It's different colours, obviously, but...
It's just a big tree.
Yeah, but all I saw it as was, like, because of the branches and stuff, obviously, tree, branches, with the body of the tree being Loki, and then the purple... like fruit of the tree, I guess, being the remnants of the timelines that Kang made. Makes more sense for it to be Yggdrasil because of the connection to Loki. But
yeah, but I don't know if it's just like it's just a tree because of branches, or is it because it's Loki and Yggdrasil and Norse mythology? Now it's a tree rather than like a big...
Makes more sense. I initially just thought, branches, tree.
Yeah.
Cool. Looking at the picture now, I mean, it's pretty much fucking... This is... The picture I'm looking at is just a picture of Yggdrasil. But
okay. Yeah.
It looks very similar.
In the sense of a tree can look like another tree, yeah.
Yeah, but it looks to be the same kind of tree and everything.
But that's what I thought when I saw it, because it was... But I'm still kind of surprised, though, that even... Again, it would have... I think, if anything, it probably would have ruined it for me a little bit, but there was still no crossover, there was no like Anthony Hopkins turning up, no Chris Hemsworth, just sort of like just anything, like him visiting him or something like that, as like a completely reformed, completely different person. It's like I'm not the god of mischief now. I'm the god of all time, all time and possible time.
Like we were saying last week about cameos from Hemsworth and stuff. It's if the god of mischief comes up to you and says, "I'm not the same guy I was before," you're not going to believe it.
Especially after every time he's trusted him we've seen so far, he keeps on
Exactly.
trying to fuck him over. So yeah,
I mean, with the exception of obviously Infinity War, like he did the right thing. I mean, he got killed, but he did the right thing.
But that's the only 20 seconds that we've actually seen him do something decent. That hasn't been self-serving.
No, I mean, he's always had a bit of love for his brother, but it's always overshadowed with, like you say, that selfish impulse to, I mean, I could do this or I could do this and this will benefit me.
Yeah.
Rather than Thor would do it just because he loves his brother.
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, this Loki absolutely would do the same.
But now this Loki doesn't need to. Like, it feels like him just sort of getting involved with, like, do you see what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like some big, oh my god, there's a big boss that's coming to kill everyone in New York. He'd be like, yeah, I've got like a trillion lives to look after now, so it's kind of beyond me caring about anymore. Like, because that's, I did like that when he's kind of like, he's visiting Mobius, like when he first meets him, when he's visiting Sylvie and saying like, what do I do? Do I try and save my friends? Or do I potentially sacrifice them? And like, you know, how do you make that kind of decision?
It was interesting, and the fact that obviously Mobius has got a bit of a dark...
Morpheus.
No, Mobius. We're on the last one, we're doing it right. He's got his, like, not really dark secret. He couldn't kill a kid. It's not a dark secret. That's a good thing. Like,
well, no, because again, like, that was his whole point, though. It's just like, it's a bigger pit. I didn't do that, I should have done, and thousands of people died.
That's also tying into, like, do you think Sylvie would kill a kid?
You'd have to try and stop her from doing it.
I don't think she would. Like, if she went back and she was just like, right, the only way you can stop this happening is to go back to when Time leaves that little kid doing his drawings in his room. You need to go stab him through the heart there. I don't think she could.
But if she took herself off the playing field, then Loki wouldn't have a reason to try and stop everyone else. Like, presumably this is going to like kick off the Kang dynasty to some degree.
Got to, hasn't it?
But if he goes and sees her and says, I can't kill you, because presumably either that means that she's better at him than in combat, which means that he tried to kill her like 100 times, or tried to stop her from killing Kang and couldn't beat her. And the only way that he could do it is that even if he did get the upper hand, he'd have to kill her to stop her from doing it.
I didn't get the feeling he couldn't. I got the feeling he wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. Like, if that was if it was like, okay, well, either I try and save you, and all my mates, or that, because that was basically Kang's point as well. So like, you've got to kill her, or you've got to let her kill me, because either it all comes undone, or that's the only way to save things. So if she genuinely cared, she'd take herself off the board. She'd just kill herself. Because then it'd be like, okay, well, if I'm not around, then I'm not that big of a distraction, and that will help save all the extra branches or whatever.
I think some of that is also down to, without her, there's nobody fighting against the TVA. And that's like her whole point in it. Plus, then Loki doesn't have to make his big sacrifices. She does that.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Because, like, throughout that, especially the last couple of episodes, it's been all about he doesn't want to be on his own. He doesn't want to be alone, and he wants, like, he's finally got friends. He doesn't want to lose them.
I do like that. Yeah, that conversation they have in the bar where he's just like, I don't want to be alone.
Yeah, I want to save my friends.
Yeah,
and the fact that the only way to save his friends is to be alone.
Right. I mean, it's
literally at the edge of time on his own.
Yeah. So I think that, but that's the thing. He knows that he could sacrifice himself to save all of these other people in all these other timelines, and he could make that self-sacrifice. But Sylvie, knowing that she's the problem, she doesn't go, well, if I just kill myself, that's
Exactly,
stopped. So I feel like I don't think she could see that bigger picture. So I think you're probably right. Maybe she wouldn't kill the kid, but she should. And again, that was Morpheus' whole point, was that if I'd have just killed the kid, all those other thousands would have survived. But it's not saying like, oh, it turns out your fucking sons are both variants, and unless they both die at some point in some timeline, something's going to explode and kill 50,000 people, so you need to prune your own kids. Then I'd be like, well, okay, well, he doesn't want to kill his own kids, despite the fact that he knows everything's going to go tits up if he doesn't. This is just some fucking random kid that he doesn't know. And presumably, by this point, as a hunter, he's probably killed hundreds, if not thousands of people.
Yeah, but it's always different with... It's same as the thing, like, you go back, would you kill Hitler as a kid? And not you as a kid, as in he's a kid. But there's always that moral, like, conundrum to it, just because it's a child. And, like, I don't know if you read much of the X-Force comics, but when Cyclops puts X-Force together, there's, like, the Black Ops team that the X-Men... They got to do things the X-Men aren't allowed and shouldn't do.
Yeah, it's just Section 31, I get it.
Yeah. But the first thing on that was to go back in time and kill Apocalypse as a kid. And, like, even Wolverine's like, what the fuck, Cyclops? And he's like, well, we're the X-Men, we can't do it, so you're going to have to. And it's that same kind of thing, but in the same context, like you say, Loki knows if he kills Sylvie, he can save all of these other people, and he won't do it. But it's, not timely. He Who Remains does specifically say, I sit here alone at the edge of time on my Todd making these choices so you lot don't have to.
Yeah.
And ultimately, again, that's what Loki sacrifices himself to do. And I think out of all of them, I think that from the revelation from the bar, and I think of the Loki variants, well, he's not particularly a variant, is he? But of the Lokis, he's the only one that's evolved, and he's not Loki anymore, whereas Sylvie's still a Loki.
Yeah.
And it's self-preservation and everything else, whereas this Loki is clearly not, because he sacrificed himself. And I don't think Richard E. Grant Loki would do the same.
But he wasn't given a chance there, was he?
I mean, it's going to be interesting where it goes and how it's going to tie into the Kang Dynasty, because what we were led to believe would happen was Sylvie would kill He Who Remains, then there's nothing stopping all of the Kang variants coming and starting another war. But the only other one we've seen, with the exception of Timely, is the one from Ant-Man.
But is he dead though, or is he just still there?
He's dead now. He's dead.
Is he dead? Yeah.
Yeah. The ants killed him.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
I think.
Honestly, I've seen it once, and I no intentions
I
to go back and seeing it anytime soon.
I saw it at the cinema, and the whole way home, all I was thinking of was, man, I wish MODOK looked a bit better.
Yeah, that stupid face, yeah.
Because I liked it. I think they did a good job in bringing that character in, having it as an established character that's already been sent to the Quantum Realm stuff. I thought all that was real cool. Until
he took the helmet off.
Like keep the gold face on, for fuck's sake. Looked fine up until then. But yeah, it's gonna be. This is the only way I can think of something tying into the what is it, like 26 or something? Kang Dynasty.
I mean, unless it gets pushed, I think it's about. No, it won't be that far away, surely, will it?
Let's have a look.
Because there hasn't been, like, when was the last ensemble movie? It was Endgame, right?
Dynasty 26.
And that's supposed to be the next team up, isn't it?
I think it might be, you know.
Because there's no other, like, Avengers thingies.
Well, unless they do this rumoured thingy one and that gets brought forward.
Maybe, but so far...
I know, when's When's Secret Wars? 27, so it's not that. Oh no, it'll be what's it? Thunderbolts. That'll be your next ensemble one.
Yeah, but not your actual like this is a real problem kind of thing. That'll just be like a Suicide Squad. It'll be a team getting together for them to be used as a team established now in another thing.
Yeah, so it's going to be 26.
So then that means that either there is going to be something else that ties into a Kang variant to some degree, a space Kang or whatever, or it's just going to be, I don't know, maybe Loki does this for 2 years and it's too much for him and he has to, or he loses control or he can't do whatever and then all the Kangs can get through or whatever.
That makes sense.
But maybe so, but I could see him just sat on his little chair forever now because he's like, if I move, everything goes tits up, all these branches die, unless you can replace him with I don't know who else has got some sort of just get another Loki, I guess, one that can control time and understands what the fuck's going on.
Theoretically, there's nothing stopping him from just bringing in shift work Lokis, because if he's managed to do it, then
for hundreds of years he's managed to do it.
Yeah, but given the same information and knowledge, other Lokis could do it over the course of time. Yeah,
but if as a Loki, he would know that he probably couldn't trust any of the Lokis to not go, oh fuck it, I can rule all of time and space then. Nice one.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, because this is kind of your this is the only Loki that is different.
Yeah, he's not trying to conquer a thing, or he's not trying to, get his rightful place in the universe. He's had to step back from all of that in order to just save everybody else.
Which I do think is quite poetic. That obviously the first episode when he gets the TVA and his goal is to sit on the throne and be in control, and that's exactly what he's got, but in a completely different context.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's quite. I think that's quite cool.
But this is why I've really liked this show, because it's not just crazy action, and it's not world endings. I mean, there's an element of that obviously, but again, it kind of that has to happen in order. So it's like when he's talking to Kang, and he's just like, that's why Kang was kind of so nonchalant about it, when he gets killed by Sylvie, because he's just like, I know that Loki's going to have to do this, so when she kills me, she's not actually killing me.
Yeah, he already knows what's happening.
Exactly. So he knows that he's going to have these conversations with Loki. He's going to have to, either die or get sacrificed or whatever. But it looks like the TVA itself has had a bit of a hard reset. So this minutes is maybe back and kind of not. Also, why would you build the same fucking AI that's just trying to kill everyone? Make a new one, right?
I did love that. She's just like, can we be sure that she's not going to go back to how she was and try to kill us all? And nobody's just like,
But maybe, I don't know. Just make another one. If Tony Stark can do it, fuck me.
I mean, he also made Ultron.
True, but yeah, that's more fucking.
That was the bit the banner helped with. That is.
Yeah, that's the Hulk's fault. That is, yeah, definitely. He doesn't know what he's doing with computers.
I did like that they're about taking down the the stained glass of Kang.
Oh, what, at the end?
Yeah. When they're talking.
No, there's no pictures of Kang. It's the original 3 Justice Timekeepers or whatever.
They're all original comic version Kang. That's what they're based on.
No, it's those 3 dudes that are spinning the loom together. No, the ones that turned out to be robots.
Loki, Kang, the glass, I guess. I'm sure
it's not Kang. Glass. It's a thing in a
the
wall.
painting. I can't even spell. Fucking hell.
Well, we're not doing it now anyway, so.
With the inclusion, I'm going to use, of don't know, like the branches to. So the sacred timeline's back in order now, isn't it?
Let's assume yes.
That we can assume. So, do you think anything's been affected from this?
No. Simply for the reason that I think we would have been shown it. Like we'd see something, something slightly different, something slightly off. Events have played out slightly differently, or something like that. I figured that if anything, that would be like your post-credit scene. So Mobius has gone back to his home. He's seen himself, or his previous version of himself, with his kids, and he's like, "Oh, this is great." The TVA's like, everything's back to normal-ish. This is great. Loki's like, "Oh, phew, I did a good thing, good for me." And then it would like cut to, it would be like the invasion of New York again, and Iron Man gets smashed in the face, and he's unconscious, or his suit doesn't work, and that nuke comes in and blows the whole fucking city up.
Yeah.
Like something like that, and he'd be like, and then it would cut back to Loki, like, wait, what? And then it would end. Like, then it'd be like, oh shit, maybe, like, canonically things have changed now. Like, they couldn't convince Bruce Banner to kind of join the Avengers right at the start. So he's not there to resurrect Tony Stark at the end of that battle, and then he's not around to do like the time shit. And do you know what I mean? Like, it could just be some, like a Flashpoint kind of thing. There'd be like a couple of bits just in the MCU's history that have just been slightly tweaked or never happened, and then like where we're up to now. So instead of it being like it's Endgame and it's everyone coming together for Endgame, that would be it's the Kang Dynasty and there's no Thanos and it's all Kangs and Kang troops or whatever.
Make Secret Invasion better.
Right?
No, because that's what I thought, because I saw it before I watched the episode about it tying into the Marvels, and I was like, it's going to show you something. So maybe it has changed something. But again, we got nothing. But no, I agree that anything substantial, at least, they would have shown it.
Or at least, like when, if he time slipped back again and into his old body, and then Mobius was like, oh, here's your highlight reel of your life or whatever. And instead of it being like everything that he did and he didn't come to New York and he got the Tesseract and blah, 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 like everything was slightly different. It'd be like, wait, no, that's not how it happened. Like, it'd be, I think if they were going to do anything crazy big, they would have shown it as part of this.
Well, that's basically what they did with season 1, though, wasn't it? Like, they thought, like, he gets pushed back through the door. But when he gets there, obviously there's the statues of Kang and everything.
Yeah.
And everything's...
So you know that, things have changed, exactly.
Yeah. So you would assume, should something have changed, we'd have the same kind of setup.
Well, I mean, the only hint of anything different is Renslayer. Like, she's not been pruned. Now she's in, like...
But she was.
Yeah, no, she was.
Because we saw it.
But she's not actually dead. Or like maybe when people are pruned, they're not technically pruned. They're just like they're just given, they're put on a specific universe or dimension or whatever that you can't return from. It's like a dumping ground.
Well, it seemed to be where he went to get Mobius. Remember season 1 when he after Mobius gets pruned.
Yeah, you might be right, because I remember it's being like sort of a big grassy thing, but like she's sat on the same like piece of the TVA, or like a piece from the TVA that those pictures were above, and there's a big pyramid and then a big purple flashing light, which I assume is some insane Kang that's come to pick her up to be like,
no, that's that big. There's that big thingy monster that they have to get past to get to Kang. In season 1, it's like a big fucking smoke, lightning, dragon thing.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's like a big fucking... It was like a 2-episode, that thing that was.
Oh, no way. Well, yeah, but then that would make sense that she's back. She's there as well, which means that she could potentially be rescued as well. Presumably by Mobius, when he's like, actually, I'm sick of watching someone else look after 2 kids. I'm going to go and...
Because he's got that car that he's just milling about in. Like I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like a pizza delivery car.
I don't remember that. It's been a while since I've seen season 1, to be fair, but yeah, maybe she can. She's got all the other Lokis there, or like all the other variants or whatever, and she can
that's where they are, isn't it?
Yeah, like put another
Richard E. Grant Loki and all that.
Yeah, exactly. But like, if they are there could be other variants that have been pruned. So it's like she can get 15 Renslayers, or 10 different Kangs that have all been pruned, and
potentially
bring them all together. But then with this new thing as well, though, actually I just thought of it. There is something that's been shown to differ, which is the TVA guidebook isn't dropped through on Victor Timely as a kid.
Yeah.
So OB's written a new amendment to the TVA handbook. But if Renslayer has been pruned, then her and Miss Minutes couldn't go back and give it to Victor Timely.
Couldn't do it. Yeah.
So does that mean that there's no Victor Timely now?
I mean, he would have existed, but not go on to be the same person that...
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean there. Like, so one change that has happened because of Loki taking over, or it could just be because, I don't know, but if he doesn't grow up to be Victor Timely, he doesn't scam people, he doesn't blah, 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 he doesn't make a thing that makes a thing that inspires a Stark to make whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it could be something as small as that could have some other wider ramification. Or like, in a sort of Rick and Morty sense, it would be another Kang coming to him just be like, why aren't you a Kang yet? Like, what's going on? All of us, we were all given these TVA handbooks and, kind of figured out how to do all Kang stuff, or, some equivalent of that anyway. And then this kid's just been left on his own.
That kind of messes up the Kang dynasty a bit, if there's no Kangs.
No, but it wouldn't depend on him being...
No, I know.
He's not a progenitor of the Kangs. He's just one of them.
He's one of them.
Mm. Also, something I noticed, when Timely comes back for the time thing and he survived it, does he say pumpkins?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I thought I misheard it. But I honestly don't know if it's a reference to something else.
I don't remember any of the pumpkin thing being a part of it. Unless it's a foreshadowing for something else.
Right, so I've just Googled it, Dan. In the 19th century, the term pumpkins was an expression people would use if they just saw or experienced something that was considered awesome, exciting, or terrifying.
So he was like, yeah, sweet.
Considering it's from like the 1890s, the fact he'd just seen all that, that's probably why.
Yeah, it's pumpkin worthy. Maybe Disney's trying to bring back pumpkins as a phrase.
Hashtag pumpkins.
Yeah, but you can't do that so closely to fucking Halloween either.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Honestly, I rewound it because I was like, pumpkins.
Yeah.
What? And then I watched it again, and then I couldn't think of a reason for him to say it.
See, I thought it was going to be something like, like in a Darren Brown thing, where he's like, he'll be talking... there's a really good one as a perfect example of this, where he's got Martin Freeman, and he's... From The Office? Yeah, from The Office, from the British Office.
And the MCU.
Yes, and also from the MCU. So it does tie in together. But he's got a giant box with a present for Martin. And he says, right, here's a piece of paper and here's a pen. And what I want you to do is I want you to have a bit of a think, and I want you to write on this piece of paper what present you most wanted when you were a kid, or what present you most want for Christmas this year, something like that. So he writes the thing on, and he puts a scrap of paper in his wallet, and then they just talk him for like 5-10 minutes or whatever. And you don't really notice it during anything they're talking about, but then when you play it back, so so basically they're having this conversation. It's like, tell me about, some memories of Christmas and blah, blah, blah. And it's just having these sort of like just general conversations. And then he's just like, okay, well, that's all fine. What presents in the box? What was it you really wanted? He's like, oh, it's a BMX, a bike. And he opens the box and it's a BMX, like a bike. And he's like, oh, this is incredible. And he goes, yeah, just take the piece of paper out your wallet. And he opens it and it says leather jacket. And he's like, but he's just like, that's not that's not what I wanted a BMX. That's what I wanted. I wanted a BMX. And then when you play it back, he keeps saying things like bike, BMX, Xbox, like to be like, oh, so, did you have a BMX box? Like, but you never pick it up as part of the conversation because it's like a thing that just sort of slips by.
Yeah, it's like a subliminal
exactly
messaging thing.
So as soon as I heard him say pumpkins, I was like, is that supposed to be he just goes, Hurrah. But you don't really pick up what he's saying. You don't register it. But then it's, when you play it all back, you're like, oh my God, he was doing, it's the Pumpkin Lord. The fabled Pumpkin Lord. Lord of all Kangs, it's Pumpkin Kang. Like,
Kang is an anagram for pumpkin.
Exactly.
With extra letters.
Yeah, like something like that. I thought that would have been amazing if they'd have tried to like slip a bunch of like whole portions of dialogue in, and then when you look back over the whole season, people have just been saying things that you've just not clocked.
Yeah.
I love that sort of stuff.
But it just turns out to be old-timey slang.
So far as we know, anyway.
That nobody from our time, or indeed the people watching Loki, will understand without Googling.
Yeah. But it's not as if he when he was doing his scam thing and he turned on the machine and it all lit up, and he's like, oh, pumpkins.
Well,
like, he's never said it. No one said the word pumpkin in this whole season.
It might be worthwhile going back to that episode and seeing if anybody in the crowd says it.
Oh, maybe. Or maybe just watch all the
obviously, when
subtitles.
he does it, it's not a surprise, is it?
That's a good point.
He knows what's going to happen.
That's fair
Whereas
enough,
the people in the crowd don't, so maybe somebody says pumpkins.
Maybe. I'll have to go back and just see. Because otherwise, I'm pretty sure no one has said the word pumpkins in this whole fucking series.
I'll be honest, I don't think anyone said it in the entirety of the MCU.
Probably not.
It doesn't get mentioned that much in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, the Pumpkin King. They say about 60 times. What are you on about?
That's being sarcastic. I forgot what I was going to say.
Was it about the fact that there were absolutely no hair flicks in this episode? And I'm absolutely furious about it.
There absolutely was hair flicks in this episode.
What?
How the hell did you miss them? There's the one that I can think of from the top of my head is when he opens the doors to walk outside. And he gets blasted.
I don't remember seeing a hair flick. I would have written it down.
It definitely was. Because Zoe went, hey, there's another one.
Well, there we go. He should have hair flicked in those horns.
I think it was ambitious enough with everything that was going on. if he took his eye off the prize, he may have fell off the side.
That's true. I like the fact as well that because we get it. It's Groundhog Day, sure. So it's not like he does it and then it falls off the side and then it's like, oh God's sake, right, start again. Like he does it a few times. You're like, right, I get it. And then he's like, remember, don't put it on the floor because it will roll off. Like, I love that. It's just sort of like, especially for everyone else just being so confused. Like, how do you know all of this?
Yeah. It is weird that for everybody who is a worker at the TVA, a time-based organisation, that none of them have gone, I mean, have you come from the future?
Well, maybe that's why they don't question it. He's just sort of like, right, I've all of a sudden got intricate knowledge of everything that all these systems can do. I can use all of it. I know exactly what to do. Maybe they're like, oh, there must be some sort of time thing. He's done this before. Potentially.
But again, would you want a Loki from the future with all this knowledge of time?
I mean, if he's actively trying to save everyone from exploding, then I suppose, crack on, mate.
Yeah. It's really weird because I've really enjoyed it, but I just felt it was a little bit deflated in terms of like how high the stakes were. It just seemed to just kind of like plod along a bit.
But this is it. I don't think that this is supposed to be like the big payoff. I think this is.
Oh no!
I think this is just setup. Yeah, it's exactly. It's the setup, and again, not necessarily for, this because it's like WandaVision, right? As a good example, right? That's a really good show, and it was all mystery and it was all intrigue, and it's like, what is going on, and why are these all TV shows, and why is there a fourth wall breaking thing, and what's going on? And then it just ended with two people shooting blasts of energy at each other. Like that isn't a payoff. And if that's the kind of thing that they would have done with this, where he's just going to fight another Kang, I'd be like, oh god, really? Like with this, where he has to make like a really personal decision and like this huge level of growth, I'd prefer that way more.
I 100% agree. It's just that feeling of it was just missing that bit of oomph, and I don't mean him and Kang like fisticuffs or anything like that. It's just I don't know.
Well, what would have given you that kind of like, oh, that was so worth it. That was the payoff I was looking for.
I honestly don't know. Like if you said like, did you enjoy that episode? Yeah, 100%. Like it was really good. I enjoyed the whole season, but it just felt like, because like I say, considering it's all of these timelines are all at stake. That's like billions and billions of lives, and it ultimately ended with him just essentially just walking and then sitting down. It's like I do that every day, and I know that it's just to walk through that across that like that bridge takes incredible power to do so. He's then just making steps out of fucking nothing. He's taking all these fucking branches. He's growing this new fucking outfit. He's built a fucking throne. He's in charge of time. So, but like when you say it like that, it's just like oomph, 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 oomph. But it didn't feel like that when you was watching it. And I don't know why. It's a really odd one. And I think if I watched it again, I might feel differently about it. But it's... I agree. Like, I don't want the... Like, WandaVision, I think, is... I know people was divided with it. But it's... I can't remember how many there was. 6 or 8 episodes of WandaVision?
I think it felt like there were 8. Like, because it felt that it was hitting like Bewitched, and it was hitting Friends, and Modern Family, and that kind of stuff. Like, it felt it had to go for like 4 or 5 decades of TV sitcoms to kind of get to the point where it all kind of started to bulk up. Which,
I mean, it doesn't matter how many. We'll just say there was 8, and you've got 6 or 7 episodes of like really good, interesting TV in a especially Marvel stuff that's done in a way that's never been done on screen, at least before. To end with your paint by numbers Marvel thing, where you've got 2 people with the same kind of powers fighting each other. It's just like big fucking letdown. Secret Invasion, I mean, the whole season was a letdown, but to have that end with the same kind of fucking thing.
It's 2 people who can have the exact same powers, use them against each other.
Just going at it. And I was really hoping Loki would just wipe Secret Invasion off the slate altogether.
Well, maybe this is it. Like, this is the sort of like, right, what hasn't worked? Okay, well, Loki lost grip of that one, so that doesn't exist anymore.
But no, like, and in terms of having this not end in that same kind of thing, where you've got Loki can now control time, Kang can also control time, and now they fight each other.
Yeah,
like I'm glad we didn't have that.
Well, we've already had that in your Doctor Strange,
fighting himself.
No, not in Multiverse of Madness. Although that was a good little fight. That where they're using music and stuff like that against each other. I thought that was quite clever. I mean, like in the first one where he creates a time loop.
Yeah, like
that's quite clever because he's had to outthink. He's like, right, I can't just beat this giant face in the sky. Also, why no more Dormammu? Really? Come on. Although maybe to be fair, that sort of like dark dimension thing is in. It's like at the end of Multiverse of Madness, isn't it? When Charlize Theron pops through, she's like, "Hello, it's me, Charlize Theron. I'm here to rescue this fucking."
Get your eye out.
Yeah. Oh God. So maybe he needs to come back, but he was like a scary, I control the universe kind of god fella, and I suppose he did make a deal to not. He's a prick, but he's an honest one.
He's a prick of his word.
Yeah. But now apparently Loki could just sort him out in 10 minutes.
This is what I'm saying. How powerful is he?
Well, this is what I'm hoping we would see. So, if he does have to create, an avatar of himself to exist within a specific timeline, he could visit his brother. And, if this was, an old version of Thor, he's like, Loki, I swing my hammer at you. And it's just sort of I could just freeze you in time. I could just freeze all of time. I can just do anything. Is he just turned God mode on? And now he has all of the control. Because then you could just go back and stop Thanos. or whatever.
But that's what I mean. Like, he's in a position where he can.
But that's the
meddle.
thing, because he's a variant, though, because the original Loki is dead.
Yeah.
So he would have to be coming back, and then you start fucking around with time. And again, if that's his job now, to protect time or to keep the timeline going.
Technically, he's not, is he? Because this is the Loki that, when they went back in time, he got the Infinity Stone.
Yeah, but when they returned, it was still the
same Loki, though, innit?
But that Loki still died. But no, but that's why he's a variant, because the one true Loki from the MCU is dead.
Yeah.
He's a variant of that because they went back in time, then he zipped out of there, and that's why he's a variation of the actual proper Loki.
I know what he'd do, though. If he went back, he's made this avatar, he goes back, sees Thor, freezes him. He'd just keg him.
No, I reckon he'd give him the biggest hug, and then he'd just vanish, and Thor would be like, wait, what? And then when he saw normal Loki again, he'd get stabbed because he thought he'd changed or whatever, and he'd be like, oh, Loki, you fucker.
But I did like those things in Ragnarok, when they'd be talking and he'd be telling him all the things that Loki did. He choked me and they'd be like, I can't remember what it was, but there was like a snake in my fucking bed or whatever. I can't remember what the actual things are, but they always make me laugh.
Yeah.
I would quite like to see like a little mini series of young Thor and Loki.
What, trying to kill each other?
Yeah, just like being god brothers.
No, mate, we've got enough of these shorts that Disney's making, and none of them really work for me, to be fair. So I'd rather that they just, if they put him now on a perfect pedestal where he's had a complete change of character and he's going to do everything he can to protect, like he's a Watcher in essence, but with actual power to be able to do anything if he chooses to. He just needs to be left there now.
Yeah.
And like he needs to. I mean, I've got no issue with like him coming back in to kind of like, okay, right, well you're going to lose this fight, so I need to stop this because they can't win because they're maniacs or whatever. So like,
it depends. Is it meant to happen? Is he going to abide by the same?
Well, that's a very good point. What if that him getting involved would then create another deviation?
Exactly.
Yeah, then
that's another branch he's got a hold in his hands.
Exactly. So he just needs to sit there and just like, I'll just let these carry on, and whatever happens, and I can't get involved. Right?
It's got to tie in. They should have shown something, because there's no way all of this has happened and nothing's changed, with the exception of Timely not getting the manual.
Yeah, I just don't know where they could, like in the sort of the slate that they've got at the moment, I just don't know how they would explain that away before you got to Kang Dynasty. And unless, again, there is something in the... I doubt it, frankly, but unless there is something in the Marvels that's just like, wait a minute, all of time has changed or whatever. Like,
it could be that this is people that have already seen the Marvels, and they go, oh, this is because of Loki. That could be what they mean when they said that there's a reference. It directly ties in, but
in the same sense, it could just be there's another Kang that's talked about or seen or whatever.
Yeah,
and there's your reference.
Anything.
Yeah, exactly. But on the whole, I think I preferred this season over the first one, frankly.
Oh, I don't know if I prefer it. Oh, that's a good question. No, I don't. I think I prefer season 1.
That's fair enough. Now it's just a question as to whether we ever get season 3.
I think it's been received well enough to do so, but it's again where do you... Season 1 and the majority of season 2 was the TVA, and Loki as this fucking contract worker. Now he's sat at the edge of time. How could you do a season 3 of Loki without Loki?
Yeah,
unless you get another fucking variant in, I guess.
Well, there's that, or like I say, you know, OB goes, oh, I've made a machine that can do all this for you, and he could just leave or something. But given the fact that if it is 2026 until the Kang Dynasty shows up, unless there's any other players that are going to get involved with him specifically, you'd have to have another season of this, or another 2 seasons, even in that space of time, to kind of build up to that. Because I just don't know how any of the others would kind of like open him up in that sense.
The other thing you've got is, as we have said before, the problem with these shows is not everybody watches them. So you can't have a big pivot. So at the end of, because of what happened in Loki season 2, episode 6, the big finale, Tony Stark's come back to life. And then in the next, you didn't watch Loki. And then the next Avengers film comes and Tony Stark's just there and nothing's changed. You go, what the fuck?
But personally, I prefer that. I prefer them to say, like, they just go, right, Avengers assemble, and then it's Tony Stark, and there's no Captain America because he's dead, and like it's not Thor, it's Jane Foster Thor. Like, just all of that's changed, and people are like, what happened? And they're like, well, you should have watched all the TV shows then, shouldn't you?
I agree 100%, and it's the same as stuff with like the Rebels and that, and and I will go, well, whatever. Obviously, we know not a lot of people, not everybody watched Rebels, so we're picking and choosing what we put into the live action stuff. No, fuck off. If they like Star Wars, they'll watch Rebels.
Yeah.
Overall, I give this 9 Loki horns.
I'm probably going to give it an 8 or 9 hair flicks out of 10. Ooh. I'd say.
Oh.
Yeah, like
we were doing hair flicks, weren't we?
It's pretty fucking solid, mate. There's not really much I don't like about this. The only problems I've really had with it is that some of the stupid and weird ideas that we've come up with haven't happened, and it's probably for a good reason, obviously. But there's it's things like this that just seem like they'd be a good jumping off platform for a lot of other silly things that they could do.
Yeah,
like when you're talking about like multiple time branches and variants and stuff like that. Why has there not been a room full of Spider-Man variants, like all the Spider-Verse people? Just put them all in a room and just go, all the spider things. Okay, well, we'll just move on from that.
Thing, especially if you use that as well, because you don't need to get Tom Holland in them. You just need people in Spider-Man suits.
Yeah, exactly. Just really terrible. And then you open up another room and it's full of stormtroopers.
Yeah,
like you could do that sort of stuff. Which again, it's not relevant, and it would just be a funny, silly thing. But I suppose it's not really a silly kind of series, though, is it? It's
no, but it doesn't have to be silly because it gives you because when you watch it doesn't necessarily feel different to the rest of the MCU in terms like you've got Loki, you've got characters that we now know, and if you show that extra thing, so you got all these Spider-Mans, you've got these fucking not necessarily stormtroopers, but something else.
Yeah.
It gives you a bit of scope into. Actually, yeah, this is different, fucking completely different timelines and like whole worlds, really. But you'd never get that sense of scope, and that's not the show's fault because it's based around this organization.
Yeah.
But when they are going on about like you've got the sacred timeline, you've got all these other fucking branches. But even when they go to them, like when they go to see, what's the hunter's name? Who becomes an actor.
Oh, it's like B5, X5, something like that.
Yeah. Like they go to that timeline, they go to Timeless timeline and stuff. But it just feels like they've just gone somewhere else rather than a completely different branch. And I think those having those extra people that aren't involved in the show, i.e., a room full of Spider-Man, a room full of Doctor Strange, the fucking X-Men, it just gives you that bit of scope. Too late now because it's been unfinished, but you even get it with the Deadpool.
When it's a room full of X-Men.
Yeah, and it's just things like that. It just makes you feel like that universe is bigger than it may have potentially felt to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a funny little Easter egg, whether it's intended to be funny or not. You just go, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
I had to say it's the same thing, with Multiverse of Madness. There was very little multiverse and very little madness.
Yeah, not really much of the madness, was there?
Well, the only times it felt like he went to a multiverse was when he was falling, and that was it. And then the rest is just based in the same 2 places after that.
Yeah.
So, like, none at all, really. But again, you got that feeling with Wanda because of it jumping to different sitcom styles. And then when you do realise it's all happening in this one fucking town in a big bubble.
Yeah.
And you get a sense of that because you see how big the fucking scale is and the effort she's gone to keep this like alive. And you feel that scope, but you don't feel it in this.
I kind of get what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I say, and again, I don't think that's I think that could be an intentional thing. Like I say, it's all based around Kang, Loki, and the TVA, and that's the bulk of it. But it would have been nice to see some little Easter eggy things in there. And maybe there was, and we just missed them. But
I mean, they're pretty fucking subtle if that's the case.
Yeah. I think you'll find that the shade of green that you see during the season 6 finale is the same shade of green that Hela had on her outfit.
Yeah, we got Throg and we got Croc Thor and Loki and all that in the first season. That's that was fun.
It was, but that's the same kind of level. That's all they had to do.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that was a fun little inclusion. It was like just a couple of sight gags, and just sort of like it's a little reference to a thing, and then. This season, it's just maybe they were just sort of like this. This isn't a season that we can just do funny jokes in. Like,
no,
we can't have people going, "Oh, this loom's going to explode and destroy all of possible reality in time."
Waka, waka.
Yeah, here's a funny version of Loki that's just a stand-up comedian. Like, it's like no, it's too important. It's too serious.
No, it is, but there's nothing stopping you having the little throwaway things like when the drawer full of Infinity Stones. Like, it's like a 5-second thing it's not overly funny, but you just go. Again, that gives you that scope of.
Oh wow, this place is
yeah, and that just felt like it was missing this season. Not a massively bad thing though.
No,
like I say, I enjoyed it, and I think I'll change it to 8 hair flicks instead of the 9.
Yeah.
But again, probably watch it again and maybe notice things or feel differently about it.
Yeah, potentially. Like now that you know how it all kind of turns out, then there might be a few bits in there that you didn't realise the first time.
I still think it's the best Marvel show though.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much else that's. I mean, like Wonder was pretty great. She-Hulk had its moments, but yeah, it's consistently been like, yeah, this is really cool. I really like this.
Yeah, they've definitely put the effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
Closest one to me would be Wanda or Moon Knight, maybe.
Actually, yeah, Moon Knight. I've forgotten about Moon Knight.
I'm not counting Werewolf because
it's a one-off anyway.
One and done.
Yeah,
it was very good. Yeah, it's definitely better than Falcon and Secret Invasion. And I like it. I think She-Hulk was fine for the most part, but no better than fine. I ain't really got nothing else, Dan.
No.
I don't know if you got anything you want to add.
No.
Nah. So we'll leave it there, and you can go and visit more Spoilercast at the website, which is podcastversusplayer.com. There's also podcasts and let's plays and game shows and reviews and loads of other things. Go and check it out, and we'll leave it there, Dan.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.